Hey guys, my name's Kyle, and this is the first episode of The Great Escape. So, now I'm actually not in Yellowstone right now. This is about 9 months postscript. But last year I had traveled across the country in my converted van, stayed at Yellowstone National Park, or right outside of it, in the Gallatin State Forest, for a little over a month. So all in total, this was about a 7-week trip, at which point I previously had left a full-time job, essentially sold everything I owned to transition into just traveling full-time. So this first video I'm going to cover what I did traveling out, while the second video is going to cover life at Yellowstone, and then videos 3 and onward are going to document the rest of my year. I don't exactly know where I'm going to be traveling to yet. I am planning on going to India at the end of the summer. I would really like to be in Varanasi for Dev Diwali, which is a light festival. It's the Hindu equivalent of Christmas. Now, that being said, if that doesn't work, I am absolutely going to Australia for... The introductory period is 1 month. However, I'm trying to stay there for 3 months at a organic farm that produces fruit and vegetables, that it's completely self-sustaining, that also teaches yoga. So my goal is, while I'm out there, to better learn how to balance myself, the outside world, and then hopefully have some stuff I can bring back for you guys as well. If I do manage to go through Asia for a while, I may stop in Vietnam, or maybe South Korea. I'm not sure yet. So anyway, back to the episode at hand. We packed up all of our stuff into the blue van, which is called Beggy for short, because when you open the door it says Beggy. Picture. I'm getting stuck. Okay. And we went from central Pennsylvania all the way out to Valparaiso. Yeah, Valparaiso, Indiana. And we stayed at my, grandmother's house for 2 nights. So the first day that we were there, we were going to go to Chicago. However, it ended up being way more expensive to get on the train than we had anticipated. So we instead went to the Sand Dunes Forest, Sand Dunes National Park, State Park, in Indiana, right outside of the train station in Valparaiso. We went up this one hill, which if I have a picture, I'll throw it in. Which honestly had about a 25 to 30% rise to it. So like for every 100 feet forward, you went up 30 feet. And because it's sand, all of the kinetic weight just shifts down and you fall backwards. And that was probably the most intense workout I've had in a good year. Now, after that, we then bicycled around downtown Valparaiso and went to bed for the night. And then after that, we had gone up as a group with 2 of my friends, and we stayed right outside of Mackinac Island, which is in the northern part of the Shoe Glove in Michigan, and it's right outside Sheboygan. So this place is the first time I tried fish in 4 years. I had 1 bite of a piece of what I believe is cod or lake trout, not sure. So Mackinac Island has no vehicles on it whatsoever. Most people typically get around in horse and buggy or bicycle. So we walked around there. We ended up finding our way up to a golf course because we went all the way up the big hill that's on the island. And had to come back down through this really fancy golf course that if you went inside, they charged you $10 just to enter. So we went running through the lawn. And ended up catching a pretty nice sunset and skipping rocks on the lake. Afterwards, the next day, we had gone to Green Bay, We stayed there for about 3 days. There was an arts festival that we got to walk through. And then along with it, they have this one really interesting trolley system in Green Bay, which I've never seen in any other big city, where it's a bicycle trolley that everyone's sitting around with a bartender in the middle. So it's like a drunk group bike ride. After that, when we left Green Bay, the next day I drove all the way to Sioux Falls in the afternoon, and biked around downtown. Now, the entirety of Sioux Falls is honestly one of my most favorite cities in America, and I think it's where I'd want to retire or at least live a decent part of my life. Because the entire town's built around this waterfall system, or the entire downtown. So there's this huge park that stretches the entire way. It curves. There's lots of ducks that go there. All of the people have a very welcoming attitude, which is something about the Midwest of the U.S. I've seemed to have noticed a lot. So then, after bicycling around, the next night, or that night, I went to Mitchell, South Dakota, which is where the Corn Museum is. So the next morning I'd stopped at the Corn Museum. And the Corn Museum is a palace in and of itself. It exists just to commemorate all of the different outsides there have been on the Corn Palace. Because each year they take corn from, the surrounding counties and build a display. Different years it has different things. Some years it's patriotic America, some years it's supporting education, because I think it's where the high school basketball team has their stadium is also in the Corn Palace. Some years it's Native American history, so you get to see them depicting different stories or principles. So it's a fun place to see. They also have a live webcam, so if you go there, you can call your family and have them meet you to, say hello to you on the Corn Palace website. So after that, this was the morning, and this day I drove to the Badlands, which is on the way towards Mount Rushmore. Now, the Badlands kind of come out of this incredibly flat area, where this part of South Dakota, there's a lot of, bumps that you kind of have in the, 1,000-acre homesteads they have out there for cows, or whatever unincorporated land they have. I'm not sure how the state works. But, anyway, there would be rudder strips that would be there to bump you to wake you up, because you'd be going, an hour and a half some places before you could get gas again. It was just this monotonous hills system. But when the Badlands come up, the Badlands have this really unique texture, which is, they're all, stalagmites, the ones that come out of the ground. That's basically what they look like. So I'll put a couple pictures up for you. So anyway, those hills are big enough for you to walk on the paths on top of them. However, it's not encouraged, because if you fall down into one of their, crevices, and you need to have Park Service come pick you up, or EMS, the federal government won't pay for it at all. So that is one thing to note before you go monkey around there. However, it is an absolutely beautiful area with some unique land opportunities to look at, because they have lots of trails you could go hiking on. I believe some of them you can go horseback riding as well. However, I've only been horseback riding once. Don't know if I'd do it again. So after this, I had drove to Mount Rushmore and stopped at the mall in Rapid City to charge my cell phone, because I was having an issue with the battery pack in the van. So while I'm charging my cell phone, I end up meeting this one man named Lyle, and I talked to him for a good 2 hours. My phone had charged, and I just sat there longer to keep talking to him, because he was waiting for his wife to get off work, and then she was going shopping for something. So he was just there sitting to kill some time, and I had a fantastic conversation. He was Native American raised, so he told me about a couple of different places around here that were cool places to hike, but unfortunately I was kind of on a deadline. If I ever go back though, Lyle, I will try to find you somehow. I think you worked at Boscov's as well. So anyway, when I'd first gotten into South Dakota, which is right before Sioux Falls, the attendant there said that they do a light show on top of Mount Rushmore, and I thought, oh, cool, they're going to have a bunch of different lights and they'll play some interesting music, you know, maybe have some fun facts. So the reason I believed this is because I had gone to Mount Rushmore once before in my life, and I was there on the 4th of July. And they had this huge, like absolutely fantastic fireworks display going off. And I assumed that Mount Rushmore was always just this, you know, really the party national monument. Because, you know, there's not really much you can do about this land. Although it's beautiful, South Dakota has a lot of other great wonders to it. So I get there, and it's actually just a light, like a spotlight, maybe 2 of them, on the edifice of the mountain with all of the faces. And then they have a flag lowering ceremony. That's honestly what I should have expected. However, don't let someone tell you it's going to be a light show, because it's not a rave. So then the next morning I had woken up and drove to Devil's Tower, which is right here. So Devil's Tower in the Native American history used to be this tree, and there were 2 children outside playing, and a bear had saw them and started running up towards them to eat them, and the children ran up this tree stump, and the bear clawed it and clawed it and clawed it, you know, trying to get it down. So that's why there's all of these, you know, vertical marks in it, is because it's a bear that was attacked. It's a tree that was attacked by a bear. So then that next day I get up and drive and pretty much go out to Yellowstone over the next day and a half. And that's pretty much where I'm going to end this video.